Hello and welcome! Today we are taking a full look at the Gryphon Nailer. This is a 3D printed blaster that is magazine fed and semi-automatic. This reimagining of the Gryphon system was a collaborative project between Notnuffnerf and Paper Skeletons 3D. This particular nailer was printed and sent to me by my friend Notnuffnerf. So an absolutely huge thanks to Notnuffnerf for sending this nailer my way. If you haven't, definitely go check out his channel. I'll have the link in my description. So this is the part where I would usually go over what you get with the blaster exactly. However, because there are different options and configurations that you can purchase this blaster in, and it's still being improved as far as the overall design, at the very least, this review should give you an idea of what to expect with the nailer. As an example of the different configurations, as an option, there is this barrel extension. If you prefer that look, that is definitely pretty nice. And there's also this piece that you can screw onto the back, and it adds a sling mount to the blaster. This would be great if you were running it as a secondary. Going over the Gryphon Nailer, we have a full rail on top and a small rail right below the barrel. Right here, of course, we have our magazine release. It is very easy to strike, and it's quite comfortable. Now, as you just saw, I had to give it a little bit of force down to eject the magazine so it will not gravity drop on its own, but that is just an attribute of the earlier nailers. This is something that is being improved right now, so it fully gravity drops very smoothly. After you remove this toolless screw, right below the grip is our battery door. Through this video, I will be running this off a 2S LiPo at 7.4 volts. Now right here we do have our trigger and rev trigger setup. This is a mechanical semi-automatic blaster, just like the Strife or Raven. This particular nailer is running worker hurricane wheels, and it's very quiet. Now if we look towards the front of the nailer, we have a built-in scar barrel. That is awesome, and it's really going to aid this thing in having a consistent trajectory. I do want to point out that this is a crystal nailer, so it's kind of like a Sonic Ice or Sonic Fire kind of vibe. It is slightly clear plastic. Notnuffnerf has a great variety of colors in regard to crystal nailers, so I'll definitely have his Etsy page in the description so you can check them out. And the overall print quality with this thing is absolutely fantastic. It is a gorgeous looking blaster. One of the coolest things about the nailer is the ability to house a 10-round worker magazine completely in its magwell. It looks very nice. However, if you were running this as a primary, you could definitely use the larger worker magazines just fine. Without further ado, this is of course a semi-automatic blaster, so every time you pull the trigger, that is going to equal 1 dart. Let's fire this thing. That is some very crisp firing performance. I really like the way this mechanical trigger feels. I could do that all day. Now let's take the nailer outside, put it over the chronograph, and see how it performs. All right, we are out here with the nailer. This thing looks absolutely phenomenal, and we'll be firing 5 of the Worker Gen 3s, and then we're gonna fire 5 of the Dart Zone Max Ruby darts. 105, 100, 105, 104, and 101. With using the Worker Gen 3s, we're getting about 100 FPS, and keep in mind we're running a 2S LiPo and Worker Hurricane wheels. Now let's fire some Dart Zone Max Rubies. 106, duplicate 106, 104, 105, and 102. So it looks like we're also getting a little over 100 FPS with the Max Ruby darts. Now that is a little bit less performance than I was expecting this to get. However, this particular blaster is running the Worker Hurricane wheels instead of the 3D printed wheels that were in the previous models. But I'm still pretty satisfied with that performance. The nailer runs smooth, it is compact, and it's just very fun to use. Now let's go ahead and fire a full magazine of Dart Zone Max Rubies downrange. Now that was very consistent, and those darts had a very tight grouping, and part of that is probably because of this built-in scar barrel. Now let's bring the nailer back inside, and I'm going to share my final thoughts. So what are my final thoughts on the Gryphon Nailer? Overall, this is an incredibly solid secondary blaster. And this also could be a fantastic primary, especially because of how consistent it is. I'm not sure why exactly this one is so exceptionally accurate. It is using the Worker Hurricane wheels, like I said earlier, and it does have this scar barrel. So I guess that combination with this nailer works really well. Now my numbers were a little bit lower than I was expecting, and Notnuffnerf was getting higher numbers, I think 120s to 130s with the models that he was testing, so I'm not sure why this one is hitting a little bit slower, but still it's a very nice little blaster, and with its accuracy, 100 FPS is still really solid. Like I said earlier, this review is more of a generalized look at the nailer because things are still being improved, like the magazine's not dropping without a little bit of force. I just wanted to put that out there to reassure you if you're planning on buying the blaster. But overall, I think the Gryphon Nailer is a fantastic semi-automatic blaster. I love its small size and compact nature, its consistency in its firing, and the smooth operation. The Gryphon Nailer by Notnuffnerf and Paper Skeletons 3D gets a thumbs up from me. If you want to check out the Gryphon Nailer for yourself, I will have the Etsy pages for Notnuffnerf and Paper Skeletons 3D in my description. And again, massive thanks to Notnuffnerf for sending this blaster my way. Definitely check out his channel, which I will also have in the description. Thank you very much for watching. I would love to hear your thoughts on the Gryphon Nailer. Subscribe for more, and happy blasting.